amazing people who would be sharing their experiences on how it took them to get the Sweden edition of the scholarship. And in that note, we have two very special guests here in our midst, of which, of course, I'm so happy to do this introduction with my own personal person, which is Chisom. So Chisom is going to be supporting me in this in the long run. But in essence, we have two of our guests here who happen to be, first and foremost, Joshua Joseph Idyong, and finally, Emmanuel Ogboba. These two wonderful men will be speaking to us with respect to the Scholarship Institute edition of this of Sweden, and also in the long run, we might also have other guests that will join on during the course of this. So please, I will really appreciate if you have any questions, feel free to note them down. We'll take everyone's question over the course of the meeting. At the same time, feel free to also take the opportunity to ask your questions as well, because it might also be good to have a proper interactive session where you get to talk to this guest and hear what they all have to share. Well, for me, I'll just help in facilitating it. And in the long run, I'm sure that this would be an exciting opportunity for us. So I will start by introducing our guests. First on our list is Joshua. So, okay, I think I'll go with Emmanuel first. So Emmanuel currently holds a bachelor's degree in industrial chemistry from the Federal University of Technology, MENA. He is recently a recipient of the Swedish Institute Scholarship for Global Professionals, where he's undergoing a master's in chemistry for renewable energy at the Uppsala University, Sweden. Interesting to note that he worked as a junior HSE officer or quality control at Lee J Pharmaceuticals in Nigeria for a year, and also a data analyst at SDG Goals Consulting and Professional Service for also another year. A production manager in Jacob Wines Limited for the third year, and currently he serves as a technical division volunteer in American Solar Energy Society. Please help me welcome Mr. Emmanuel to this session. Emmanuel, if you're around, just say hi. Don't worry, I don't put you on the spot.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
It's nice to join the meeting this
Thank
evening.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Emmanuel. I think we'll have so much to talk around your experience so far. 3 years experience. You're my role model. Anyway, so I'll quickly jump to the senior man also on the call, who happens to be Mr. Joshua. Joshua's profile goes as such. Yes, so Joshua holds a bachelor's degree in environmental technology. Aside that, he finished from the Federal University of Technology, Owerri. So we have two graduates of Federal University of Technology. He has a diploma in business and entrepreneurship from Ghana Institute of Management and Public Administration. He also has a certificate of venture management program from Lagos Business School, which is the Pan-Atlantic University. He also got the Mandela Washington Fellow for the Young African Leaderships in Business, and is currently a Swedish Institute Scholar for the Global Professionals, in essence. He's also undergoing a master's degree in science for sustainable development from Linköping University, and currently working as a sustainable intern in Inclusive Business Sweden since the beginning of August 2022, and volunteering as a student board member in Linköping Senior in Science Park. So help me welcome Mr. Joshua as well. Joshua, if you dare just say hi to everyone.
Hi, and thank you very much for that warm introduction.
Thank you so much, Joshua. I really appreciate it. Over the long run, we'll have other guests join us. We have Ogechi and Bolaji who would be joining us as well. At this point, I think I will just quickly move on to the session, of which I'll be welcoming Chisom to just start. I think Chisom has something unique, especially for Joshua. Joshua, I know we have just for 5 minutes with you, but we'll make the best out of it. So Chisom, maybe you could just start by telling us more of what you have for him.
So hello, Joshua. It's nice to have you here. Thank you for coming again. And that's a beautiful welcome from him. So Joshua, based on our last discussion, I told you that we would love to hear from you about the CV requirements. Now, going through the requirements for the SI scholarship, there's so much requirements, the CV, the reference letter, and just know is it not that you're using job application to, let's say, one organization over there in Lagos, or is there a particular standard that the SI people require, like they want to see on your CV before you can get selected? So can you help run us through the CV?
Okay. Thank you very much for that question. Maybe I'll just ask some clarifying questions before I go ahead. Would it be more like a question and answer session, or I just have to continue talking for the next, let's say 30 minutes or so? How is it supposed to go? So that I know how to.
Okay, you can stop.
Yes,
Okay.
so feel free to talk. I think we'll just allow you to have a brief talk, and then we can just churn in 1 or 2 questions while you're done with the talk. So probably 20 minutes talk and then have some questions from people.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
So thank you very much. It's very good to also start with the CV part. It's actually a very... Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please go ahead.
Yes, we can.
Okay, because I was hearing some sound. I thought it was from me. It's actually good to know that the CV is actually one of the critical and one of the most critical documents you'll be submitting in the course of this application. And why is it so? In the application process, you discover that your work experience form, you need to scan it and submit it as a, what I say, scanned document. And same thing for the work experience, same thing for the reference letters and all that. But the CV, I think is the only document that you don't even need to print or scan. You have to upload it the same way you downloaded it, right? And one thing you should also understand when working with the documents for the SI scholarship is that Sweden is a country that is very, very reliant on technology, right? So it means, and one thing about technology is that garbage in is garbage out. So it doesn't have time to understand your mistake or your mishaps. It does things the way it's being told to do it, right? So it means you have to be very careful with the document. You have to be careful in using keywords so that it's able to fit into what has been programmed into whichever technology they're using for the assessment of every application. So that's first thing to bear in mind, right? So we're talking about the CV. Shisham asked a very good question about what kind of companies you need to work with. One underlining factor about the Swedish Institute scholarship is that your work experience has to align with your master's program, your intended master's program. Why is this so? The scholarship is for global leaders, global professionals, right? For you to be a professional means you've been on one particular trajectory for a long time and you've gained experience and you intend to gain more experience in that particular track. That's what makes you a professional. If you're changing from one place to another, you will not likely be a professional in any of them because you're just a jack of all trades. So the program is actually for people who have taken the course, who are clear about what they want to achieve, what they want to do with the knowledge, and they have been on that path for the past 1, 2, 3 years, and they intend to grow more in that particular line, of course. I'm going to share my story because it was quite tricky how an environmental technologist, someone who had a first degree in environmental technology and then spent close to 5 years running his business, right? So that's more about business management, is able to align his experience in business and also with environmental technology, right? When I was applying, in your CV, you have an opportunity to put just 3 work experience in your CV, right? So 3 work experience, 3 volunteering experience. Maybe you can add more for volunteering experience, but for work experience, it must not exceed 3, right? And that's because they need you to have 3,000 working hours. And that 3,000 working hours must be gotten from not more than 3 different work positions or 3 different companies or 3 different work experience. You can get it from 1 work experience. So if you have just 1 work experience, it doesn't disqualify you, right? But then it shouldn't exceed more than 3, right? And for me, I use just 2 work experience in my own case. So I'm sharing practical knowledge. I use just 2 working experience The first was from my business as a CEO and the strategic manager. That was my first experience. And the second was from my mentor's company, right? I worked very closely with my mentor, and I served in his company as a sustainability and innovation manager, right? So those are the two work experience I used in my application. I didn't find any reason to use up to 3 because I just wanted to keep it at that 2. And why did I keep it at that 2? Because I had met the 3,000 hours with just my own experience in my company, right? So work that of my mentor's company was more like a bonus, right? Additional part of the experience I decided to it to say, okay, yeah, to show that yes, I've led in different positions, in different companies. So what is very important in your work experience is to ensure that whatever thing you're writing, whatever thing you're seeing.
Hello.
Yeah, also, I think you should mute everyone. Okay. So I just don't want to speak, so I'll just maybe share my screen and then let's see some few key things that or let's see directly from the SI scholarship website. And so we can match what they write with what they wrote with what I'm saying, basically.
All right. I think you can share your screen.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's telling me host disabled participants screen sharing. So
all right.
I
try again now, please. Okay. Perfect.
Please, as a gentle reminder, if you have any question for the scholar, kindly type your question in the chat box. Please, thank you.
Can you see my screen now?
Yes, we can see your screen, sir. You can go on.
Okay. Yeah. So like I said, I'll just bring you to the Swedish Institute Scholarship website and draw reference from some key things, right?
Can you zoom your screen a little? If you can you zoom it so you can see it well?
I'm going to reshare it. So let me use this. Let me use the CV templates. Could zoom that better. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can. You can go on, sir. We can see your screen.
Okay.
If you can again, can you please zoom it, like, so we can see it well there? Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Okay, so one of the key things, very important things to note is that you cannot alter the CV templates. So it means don't tamper with the logo. Don't try deleting the logo or anything. Very, very important. No matter how good your CV is, if the template is altered, and the question would be like, why are you talking about not altering the template? Like I said earlier, the scholarship, the country is very much technology reliant. And so if the software they're using understands how the template is arranged, and you're submitting a template that is not in that format, it might not pick up your CV or analyze it or whatever, right? So it's very important not to tamper with the template, especially the logo, the arrangement and all that. That doesn't mean you cannot delete the instruction page. So you can copy all what is on the instruction page to this point, and delete it, but you shouldn't tamper with the logo, right? And then also don't tamper with the structure. Okay. Also don't tamper with the structure of the template, right? Very, very important. Like I said earlier, one of the key things, although there's another scholar that's going to talk about your leadership experience, but when highlighting your work experience, I remember when I was still, I think that was in 2015, I was doing a volunteering, or would I say, I was doing a consulting job for an NGO, and I happened to work with a top expert from the US, and I submitted my CV, and he told me, you don't highlight your duties, you highlight your achievements in your CV. From then, I've always highlighted my achievements. So once you're working with the SICV, try to highlight your achievement. What do I mean by that? Rather than saying that, oh, I worked as the laboratory assistant, right? I could actually say, I helped to reduce, or I helped to increase efficiency of lab sample analysis, right, by 30%. So you working as an assistant, you assisted the main laboratory, would I say, manager to increase efficiency. So by supporting him, by making his work much more easier, that's increasing efficiency. So you can translate duties into achievements, right? Or in terms of, let's say let's say you worked in an engineering firm, right? You can say, oh, I was able to what I say, increase time management or project management delivery time by a certain amount of percentage, or you give a number, or you add numbers in terms of how you quantify how many staff you manage, or was able to manage 5 staff in order to be able to meet up with our timeline before the possible deadlines or something. But highlight your achievements, right? If you go online to research, you can read more about how to highlight your achievements in your CV rather than just mentioning your skills. Time will fail me to go in depth and start talking about that. That's one key thing. So work with numbers, use percentages to highlight your achievements and what you did as a role. So now I'm going to tell you one tricky part, which a lot of people will find it very difficult. So as I said, I was an entrepreneur. We've been working, I run a palm oil processing company, and I was applying for a sustainability program, a master's in sustainable development. And I have a background in environmental technology. So what I had to do was to sit down and say, okay, what is the major connection between palm oil processing and environmental technology, right? For every company has an environmental hazard, has an environmental impact on the society, on the environment, and on people, right? So the first question I asked myself was, what are the possible environmental hazards from my company? When you run a palm oil processing company, there's what you call palm oil mill effluent. If it's not well managed, you contribute to global warming by releasing methane gas into the environment. My knowledge of environmental technology had helped me to ensure that, to look into the possibility of using palm oil mill effluent to generate biogas, right? That's a sustainability strategy that we were looking long-term to implement into our company. right? What were we doing at the moment that was related to sustainability? I could also sell my application. At the moment, we're encouraging what we call a refill package, where instead of buying new packaged palm oil, you can consider to refill your old plastics with our palm oil. That way we are saving the environment from plastics pollution. And we're also saving our company from extra costs, packaging costs, right? And then as leading my company, I've been able to develop standard operational procedures that help in the flow chart in how production is done in the company, from the point of getting palm fruits to the point of getting the finished palm oil, right? Standard operational procedures in terms of when it comes to environmental assessment is what falls under health, safety, and environment. So I was able to find a key point in my company, even if it looked more like an agricultural related business, to relate it more to environmental technology and sustainable development. That was how I was able to make that position in my company to be relevant to the scholarship as regards to applying for a master's in sustainability, right? So whatever master's you apply for, how does your previous work experience relate to that master's program? Look deeply is one of the ways to sell that position. So it's not just picking up any work experience, it's up to 3,000 hours. The quality of the work experience in terms of how is it related to the master's program. So it's a two-way thing. How is it related to the master's program you want to do in future? And how is it related to the previous bachelor's program? It has to connect to both, right? That's what is very important. A lot of people, all through my experience, working with people, coaching young people, talking with young leaders and young entrepreneurs, a lot of people don't really understand what sustainable development goals is. So I'll just give you a background. The first 15 years, 2000, 2015, we had what they call the Millennial Development Goals, MDGs. A lot of you heard about it. Some people might not have heard about it. As a continuity plan, right, because the Millennial Development Goals could not achieve what it was meant to achieve, that led to the second phase, which is from 2015 to 2030, which is now the Sustainable Development Goals. Every leading organization, every reasonable country is looking towards to ensure that these goals are achieved by 2030, even if it looks as if it might not be possible, right? And that's why there's huge investment. Everything around Sustainable Development Goals is very important. So one of the things you need to do is have a brief reading about the different Sustainable Development Goals and try to understand which one, right? Which one is closely related to your previous work experience. Because one of the things you're going to highlight is, after talking about your work experience, you're going to highlight which particular Sustainable Development Goals related to your work experience, right? For me, since I was, for that of my company, we're creating jobs, we're also in the production industry, we're manufacturing. So we closely fit into decent work and economic growth, right? So I chose that as the SDG that was related to that position, right? So you have to look clearly, and for you to do that, you have to have a basic knowledge of what the different goals, there are 17 goals, have a basic knowledge of what all of them is all about, so that you can know which one is best suited to your work experience, right? So it's very, 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 very important. Now there's a question of how to calculate your working hours. So they say you should have 3,000 work hours for you to be able to apply, right? A full-time job, as you know, is about 40 hours per week. So 9 to 5 is 8 hours. You work 9 to 5, which is a full-time job. That's 8 hours. And then times 5 times in a week, that gives you 40 hours. Then times approximately 50 weeks in a year, that gives you 2,000 hours. So if you've worked a full-time job consistently for 1 year, it means you already have 2,000 hours. If you worked a full-time job for 2 years, it means you've done 4,000 hours already, right? Very, very important. And then the next thing to know is that you can also use a part-time job, right, to add up with the number of hours. So if you worked a part-time job, which was instead of 40 hours a week, you're doing 20 hours, you multiply that times how many weeks you've worked, you would also know how many hours you have. If you go to the SI page, under work experience, you would find how to calculate the employment hours. So try to visit the SI page and the SI scholarship page, you see how to calculate the working hours in more detail, right? If there are specific questions in regards to that, you can ask them during the question and answer session. The next thing to talk about is how to highlight that you're actually, that the role, so it's very tricky because in your CV, there are two things they want to see. They want to see that, yes, you have relevant work experience, but at the same time, they also want to see that those work experience were actually experiences that showed that you held a leadership role. So you have to be very, if you know, let's say you have a boss, you can ask your boss permission for you to redesign your name, right? There's one thing I learned early on in my career was that even if you apply for a job and they're not paying you very well, make sure the name they give to you makes a lot of sense. So what do I mean by that? Instead of you saying, if I work in let's say I happen to look for a job in an hotel and I get a receptionist job, I will tell my boss that, please, I know I'm a receptionist, right? But let me be the customer's communications manager. Does it make sense? So if someone calls you a receptionist, if you go for a meeting, a conference, and introduce yourself as a receptionist, and introduce yourself as a customer's communications manager, who would they respect more? They respect the customer communications manager. It shows more of a leadership. It's a name that has a form of leadership to it, right? Because what you're doing as a receptionist, you're definitely managing customer communications. And most times, the receptionist, you don't have a direct boss over you, apart from maybe the CEO in most companies. So you're actually managing that role. So you're actually a customer communications manager. It makes more sense. And so in applying for SI, it's good if there are ways you can find ways that you can have more creative, more interesting roles that shows that it's more of a leadership role than just a basic role. Because they're looking for people who have not just work experience, but have leadership experience in that place of work. Very important. Another way to show that you have leadership experience in that place of work is that there are ways, if you do a search, you can do a search on how to show leadership in your CV. There are some keywords to use, words like managed, developed, initiated, those words. So if you say, I initiated a mentorship program for young lawyers, right, in my company. I initiated a mentorship program for 10 young human rights lawyers in my company. That's leadership. So you were the one that brought the idea. So you initiated. That's a leadership verb, right? So you have to look out for those leadership verbs and use them in your work experience description. Very important. I'll quickly take you down to the education and training. So in education and training, you can talk about both your first degree and also even online courses. So if you know you're applying for a scholarship and you see that, oh, I don't really have enough things to show that I'm a professional in this field, what online courses can you take on Coursera that can actually give you more experience, right? So take some of those online courses and also you can add them to under education and training to show that you have more strongly related experience in that field. What do they mean by network and civic society engagement? One place a lot of people have a lot of questions. People ask me, working in church, is that also a civic society engagement and all that? In terms of civic society engagement and network, it means things you did not for money, but because of your concern, right? Like what I'm doing now, I'm not paid to do the session. It's my concern for community development, my concern to see young people gain better opportunities is one of the things, is why I'm doing what I'm doing. So like someone like me, right from when immediately I left, even while I was in secondary school, I started organizing career sessions for secondary school students on how to choose the right career path, right? So I've started volunteering years ago, right? While in university, I volunteered with Selfless for Africa, a non-governmental organization in the United States. We put a borehole somewhere in Ukara community in Kuje, Abuja, right, to help about 1,000 residents to get access to clean water. I've worked with, I was part of a volunteering service with Beyond Barriers, a group of young people mentoring teenage people in the rural communities on how to get better career opportunities. So what are those things you've done that are not related to your work? So it's not part of your work. It must not be in the same line of your work experience, but you've been able to volunteer. And it can also be in church, but if you're using church, you cannot just say organizing prayer meeting cannot be a volunteering experience, right? But then let's say in your church, you're part of the youth ministry, and then you organize career seminars, or you guys go to motherless baby homes to give food. That could be very good, because when you're giving food in motherless baby home, you're contributing to reducing poverty, no hunger, which is one of the sustainable development goals. Zero hunger is goal number 1, right? So whatever networking experience it is, whether from the church, you can use your church, but I've given you an example of the ones you use from your church. If you can relate them to a sustainable development goal, then it's a good thing to highlight it on your CV. And then lastly, is the scholarships and awards. So someone like me, I'd gotten different scholarships, gotten awards. So my program at Lagos Business School was sponsored, was on a scholarship. I won the National MSME Award from the Office of the Vice President in 2020 for Award of Excellence in Agriculture, was a scholarship. I highlighted it there. Mandela Washington Fellow, that was also a scholarship. I also highlighted it there. So you can also think of different scholarships, maybe scholarships you got as an undergraduate student, or awards, even awards you got. Maybe you were the best employee for the year, right? And you were given 5,000 naira as assistant to pay your transport back home. That's a scholarship. That's an award, right? As the best employee for the year in your organization. It's something you can also highlight. So don't think that, oh, I don't have big scholarship. Think of those things about yourself that could sell you very well on your CV. And most importantly, your CV, for no reason should it exceed more than 3 pages. I think with this following point of mine, I've been able to assist you in making your CV better. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so just a few questions from my end, please. So is this same CV that you're going to use to apply for admission? Because I noticed that you have to apply for an admission first to any university in Sweden, then you go later to apply to the Swedish Institute. So all these requirements and everything, this is something that you forward to the school?
Okay.
Or you have to get another CV, double work?
Okay, not all schools require CV, right? None of the schools I applied to ask me for a CV. So you have to go to the different schools' website and check if they actually require a CV. If they do, you can use your old CV, maybe just package it and apply, right? If you want to use this word, then you have to take out, like currently, my CV is based on this SI scholarship structure. I just have to remove the SI logo, right? after applying for SI, I didn't bother going to SI. I just removed the logo and then I edited my CV. So I used the SI, the way it is structured, right? I just removed the SDG parts and some key things. So you can still do that. Have your CV done on the SI template, remove the SI logo, because at this point you're submitting it to the school, right? And not to SI. So you can remove the SI logo and then use the template. But like one thing again, in my CV that I use here, I don't put my date of birth, sex, and all those things. They're not really necessary, right? But SI needs it for, they have their own reason why they ask for it. So you can edit this SI template and use it if your school, we have to confirm if your school actually needs a CV. So it must not be this exact one. You can use any CV or use what they call the Europass CV. So CV mostly used in European countries. You can use that to apply.
Thank you very much. That's a wonderful speech from you. I hope you've all learned how to do this CV. Please, this is a gentle reminder that this video is being recorded. So we're going to upload it, downloaded record, on our YouTube channel. Kindly follow us, like and subscribe, Flourish Opportunities Network, and you can get lots and lots of content like this one. Hearing from people like Joshua, trust me, all things being equal, we are not worthy to hear anything from him. So this is like
what do you?
So please, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel to get all the everything that you need. So your questions. All right. We have questions on the chat box. Can you see the chat box? There are questions there for you. Only you.
So I think I'll just go on and read one of it, and then we'll move on to the next session. So please, we're going to be cautious of time. The first question is from Osita, which is saying, how is your work experience and previous degree related to the master's program you are applying for? So Joshua, if you can please explain how it was. I know you've talked around it, but just briefly in a minute, how it did relate.
Okay, I think I would like to, I think I talked about that earlier. Sorry to take a bit of your time, but I think I saw a more practical question. So I'm going to mesh both of them together and see how to answer. All right. So someone is saying, I'm a graduate of geomatics, which is closely related to civil engineering. So I applied for financial engineering. Currently, I trade the financial markets, and I'm also a digital marketer. The problem now is, how do I link my undergraduate degree, which basically has a mathematical background, to what I applied for in my MSc? Graduate of geomatics related to civil engineering, and then I applied for financial management. Okay. So the ball is always in your court when it comes to relating your experience. So I'll start with myself. Like I said, I studied environmental technology, and I've never been employed. Like, I didn't search for a job anywhere. I started my business while I was still in university, and I started working for myself right from the university till date. All right. And but while doing that, I also worked for my mentor part-time. So I believe so much in mentorship. And yes, I worked with my mentor. I was not being paid, right? But I worked with him to learn from him. And I also held a role in this company. So it also contributed to my own experience. So I worked with him as sustainability innovation manager. So I did more about, it was an agri-tech company. So I did more about contributing ideas on how to best implement the software we're launching to manage data for smallholder farmers, right? And when you talk about data for smallholder farmers, you're talking about food security. When you're talking about food security, you're talking about one of the goals that says no hunger, right? Managing data of smallholder farmers also helps with the government to know how to support farmers. And farmers are one of the people that are known to be, would I say, poor in an African community, right? So we're talking about no poverty. One of the people that need to help increase their financial level is farmers. So my involvement in that project was also related to another goal, which is no poverty, right? So there are two goals now: zero hunger, no poverty. If farmers can do better, there'll be more food, there'll be food security. So you must, for you to be able to relate your previous experience, number one, you need to have a grasp of what the different SDGs are all about, right? You need to understand what the master's program you're applying for is all about. So go to your master's application, go and read, download the courses that they offer, right? Look at the future work that you can do. So like, somebody's talking about financial engineering. I might not be able to say basically what financial engineering is all about, but I know I saw the word financial, so I might say, okay, it's finance related, right? But since you say you did a course that's related to engineering, right? How can you relate the engineering in civil to the engineering in finance, right? That's your work to do. So if you can find a connecting point, so I'll look for another example to use. So like now I said I was running a palm oil processing company, but then palm oil processing has an impact on the environment. So I could relate it to my previous course, environmental technology. There's a technology called anaerobic digestion. It's an environmental technology. That technology helps you to convert biomass, right, or waste that contain organic matter into a source of energy. That's an environmental technology. Now, if you process palm oil, the wastewater is called POME, and it contains organic matter. It can be converted into energy. So I could relate my knowledge of environmental technology into the business I was running. So you are the one doing that business. You are the one that worked in that place. Figure out what in that work, right, can be linked to what I've done. So it's for you to show that linkage in your motivation letter.
All right.
And in the roles that you're picking for. That's how to highlight it.
Thank you so much, Joshua. I think you've spoken lucidly on this very point, and I'm sure everyone has gotten a good hint around it. So yes, basically, we've all touched around the CV, and Joshua has been a very huge resource on this. He has also given you practical insights on how to draft your CV, of which that was the main reason why I didn't want to stop him in the course of the CV. So for no reason should there be a point where you will say you have a challenge. If you do have a challenge, please feel free to reach out to me. I'll be happy to connect you with our panelists. I'll also be taking Rose questions. So Rose, just be quick about it. And I think we'll use just less than a minute to answer this question. So please, Rose, unmute yourself and quickly speak. Thank you.
All right, good evening.
Evening, Rose.
Thank you for the session. It's a very educative one. All right, my own question is, I'm an entrepreneur. I studied animal science in my undergraduate course. So can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm into livestock production. So I'm an entrepreneur. I've also worked with an NGO. I was their program manager, program officer. So we're basically doing agri projects, empowering women, farmers, and all that. In addition to that, I also teach in a private school. So those are like 3 other work experience, like 3 different organizations now. So how do I incorporate the 3 into my CV to make it very appropriate? I'm also applying for animal science in my master's degree.
Sorry, what do you teach? Sorry.
Yeah. I teach agri too.
Okay.
Agri science.
All right. Thank you, Rose. Joshua, I think I will just try to allow Bolaji come in here so he could speak. Bolaji, I understand you are also an alumni of the fellowship. So perhaps if you can respond to the question, it would be really lovely.
The question for Rose or the general question?
Rose,
I wasn't even listening, but it's something I can take. Yeah. I must commend Joshua for giving us something so concrete. He has taken his time to go over these things. So for me, I would not really go in depth into what Joshua has said. I would just possibly talk about things that he didn't say, so that we don't really keep repeating ourselves and getting people bored for this session.
Yeah.
And Rose, I think you can have more than 3 jobs at the same time, because myself, when I applied, I have a business I was running. I own a magazine publication. I was working with a Nigerian ombudsman, and as well, I was a media aide to a serving MHR. So in my CV, all my work was simultaneously. So it's something you could talk about, what you do presently, your teaching experience. But what is important, like Joshua said, you must find a connection between what you do to the SDG goals, because what they're looking for is the SDG goals. So it's quite important, whatever job you're talking about. Like if you're a teacher, there's a particular part of the SDG that talks about quality education. So you could possibly link that to your teaching job. As well, when you talk about women empowerment, you can talk about gender balance and the empowerment you're doing as an entrepreneur. You're making sure young farmers are coming up, giving them livestock and stuff like that. So like Joshua actually said, I used to call the CV the performance of selfhood. Sorry, I'm coming from the angle of a media researcher now. You want to perform yourself. You want to tell them, this is who I am. This is even more than what you are. You can use your CV to talk about it. I think there's another question. Can you apply for a master's when you already have a master's degree in another course? Yes, you can do that. In my own case, you don't have to mention your previous master's. I don't think you applying for a master's in Sweden, they will not ask for your master's degree. They will talk about your bachelor's degree. So it is important. You can be silent about it. You can be silent about your previous master's, so that moving forward, you can just talk about your bachelor's degree, your experiences. Because for me, I had a master's from Unilag in 2012, and I got the scholarship in 2020. So it's something you could apply for without even mentioning your previous master's. But one thing about the previous master's is this: it helps your horizon. It helps your thinking, and it helps how you can articulate or possibly pitch your point. So I would want to just add some few things. I think Joshua said virtually everything. Actually, I had a slide and is able to cover them, but I will add some tits and bits. Can I share my screen? So that
okay.
So I'm going to use my own CV. I was able to screenshot some part of it, and also the questions you are to answer. So I will try and do how fast I can go with that. Let me see if I can share my screen. Yeah, I can share my screen.
All right, so Bolaji, this is how we're going to do it. If it's possible that you can quickly have this done in 10 minutes so that we
can. Yeah, I'll be so sweet. Like it's going to be super sweet. Don't worry.
All right, thank you. I'm just happy that we have so much resources available.
Where do I web page?
So while that is ongoing, I just want to say thank you, Oge and Emmanuel, for joining as well. It's good to see your beautiful faces with us here. And as for everyone that's also joined, I'm glad that you're here as well. So hopefully with time, after Bolaji shares his own experience, we'll also have an interactive session with our panelists. And please feel free to ask your question. The main goal is to make sure that every one of us can make the best opportunity out of this. So thank you. Bolaji, if you have any challenge, let me know.
Yeah, I'm trying to see my screen. It's really messed up. So many screens open right now. I'm trying to figure out. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I think it's open now, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, can you see my screen?
Yes, affirmative.
Okay, yeah, just something simple. Yeah, the checklist that you need to do is the CV, the motivation statement, the leadership and the work experience. But for me, I think the most important part of this thing is in 2 places. What I do when I coach people, I really don't let them concentrate on the SI first. They have to concentrate on getting the admission. So the first part of the scholarship is doing what you need to do in getting the admission. Because if you don't get the scholarship without getting the admission, so you have to put more energy into you doing the right thing for your courses, putting your CV there, putting whatever they ask, that they are statement of purpose. You put your energy in getting admission, because some people don't put energy into getting the admission. All they think about is the scholarship, the scholarship, the scholarship. Whereas the most important part is the part 1, just like you've been doing with the part 1 before going to the part 2. So I would enjoy everybody to go back to their checklist for the schools, check what the schools require, look at what they need and how they want you to submit those things. It's very important. Not just because I want to get this scholarship, I want to get a scholarship. Whereas you leave out the getting the admission, which is the major part of it. I don't know, maybe they've had a section about that, but if you don't have a section about that, I think people need to go back to work on that aspect as well. So the main thing for me, I used to say the CV, the motivation statement. I call it the motivation statement because the statement of what you want to do with this scholarship, what you've been doing previously, and how you want to go about it. So the next slide now, I think you've talked about this. Yeah, I will just talk about the last paragraph here. I think he's talking about all the other things about SDG goals. It's something you could check if you don't know anything about 17 goals. It's something you could just walk around. But what I would tell us is this, and what is important is this. What I would tell us is this, and what is important is the fact that your CV has to have keywords. You have to input keywords in your CV, because I can tell you one thing, they will not check all the old CVs. I can tell you with all my full chest, it's going to be software that will sync the CVs. So you must be able to make sure the software doesn't screen away your CV. So you must input keywords in your CV. What do you mean by keywords? Let me take you through my own CV. Yeah, I work with the Nigerian Ombudsman, and I had a magazine publication and also the special assistant digital media. So when I started, I was straight to the point. I wasn't protecting human rights. Human rights, that's a keyword. Mediating for peace. Resolution of cases. Keywords, human rights, mediating for peace, resolution of cases. You could see those three keywords straight up, you put it in it. So if you're talking about conflict resolution, human rights protection, you must have these keywords in your thing. It must be related to what you want to talk about. And I work with justice, peace, and strong institution. This is goal number 16. So whatever goals you want to work with, you must take your time to ask, what are the keywords related to these goals? If it's sustainable education, if it's poverty eradication, what are the keywords that deal with poverty eradication? So moving to the next one now, talking about keywords, because I don't want to bore us, I have to show this so that to be easy for us. Then also, I own a magazine publication, I'm the publisher. So what do we do? It's a partnership for the goals. Only thing about partnership for the goals is whatever things you put together to make sure you get the other 16 goals. And media is a very critical aspect of it, because with the media, you can talk about what is happening, you can report the situation, you can inform people. And likewise, like Joshua has actually said, you must not talk about your rules, you must talk about what you do. So I said I coordinate and monitor the activities of all members of the magazine with 21 staff, including the marketing team. So that's like a leadership role, because this scholarship is about work experience and leadership role. So you must be able to show that over time. So look at these other first jobs. So it has staff strength over 500 across 36 states. So this is a quasi-judicial organ of government and stuff like that. So coordinating the commission activities, civil society group, and head of the media team with 15 staff. So you must be able to show what you do, what you've been able to do over time. So the third job now, like I was actually doing, I was the special assistant on digital media to the members of the House of Reps from my own local community. So what I did was just talk about the keywords showed as well. Mandates, fulfilling the mandate given to him by the constituents. Those are keywords. So that goes for that. You also should be able to show that you have the leadership in your CV. The leadership is also very important, not just the CV. Talk about the people you coordinate, people you work with, how you get results. And you can use percentage to talk about your impact. Impact is also very important. Reducing poverty by 10%, reducing by 15%, making sure you get results in whatever you do. So moving on to the next one, which is the motivation statement here. I always regard this as a statement is more of what you're looking for to do with the scholarship. What do you want to do with this scholarship? When I get this scholarship, what do I want to do with it? What have I been doing previously? What am I going to do for the future? So it's very important for us to motivate. You must tell, okay, when I get this scholarship, because you are spending close to about 20 million naira on you or thereabouts, so what do you want to do with this? So let us have that in the back of the mind, what you want to do with this scholarship, which is very important.
Sorry,
okay,
how did I get the questions? You know, I think I still my slides is just going. I'm not gotten to this stage already. Slide went fast so far. Just few slides,
okay.
I think.
Your motivational statement. Okay, we're hoping that Ogechi will talk about it.
Okay, she's going to talk about this. All right.
Yeah.
So let me just give you a brief of what I said. These are they used to ask questions, and these are the questions. Describe how you can apply them. Blah, blah, blah. So what was key for me was okay, fine, I want to enjoy man, and I've been working there for the past 6 years. These are the loopholes that I noticed. There's a little bit of issues with funding. There's a little bit of things we need to do, and there's this for legislation. So what remains key? Returning from Sweden, I'm looking to draft a working template to the Nigerian National Assembly to give adequate power to the Nigerian Ombudsman, making the electorally autonomous and legislation to prosecute those who have acted illegally. So you must be able to talk about what you want to do with this. It's a direct thing. You must find the loopholes. These are the loopholes. Like for me, I'm able to identify that we don't have legislation that are working. So what I want to do is possibly come up with legislation that can be of improvement to improve peace and justice within the Nigerian society. So if you have any question, you could just throw that out. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Bolaji. That was really succinct. So Drews, your hand is up. Can you just unmute yourself and ask your question?
Please, before Drews, there are some questions that I've gathered on behalf of the FON community. Bolaji, thank you very much again for your speech. Very brief, but straight to the point, and you literally hit all the nails on the head. So just a reminder again, this is Flourish Opportunities Network. We will upload the video again on our YouTube channel. Please don't forget to like and subscribe and tune into more content webinars like this. So Bolaji, there is this requirement that the valid proof of work and leadership experience must be stamped by the organization or company that you worked in. Please, so what if you work for, let's say, one organization about that is fighting for, let's say, children's rights in one street like that in Makoko, Lagos State, and they don't even have a stamp, but they're not even registered, let alone having a stamp. So what are we going to do? Like those that work that kind of, how are they going to get a stamp? Stamp their
getting a stamp is it's not expensive for any company to do a stamp. 2,000 naira, 3,000 naira. So you could always liaise with the company for them to get a stamp. But it's always very good to use companies that they can verify. So when you work with people, you must look out for the ones that really has the website. For if you look at my CV, I was able to put the link to the website of these companies I work with. So if they want to verify, they could see directly. So in most cases, I used to tell persons to use at least people that have a website, because you cannot be working at this age and at this time and not having a website. I think you should have moved beyond that. And if you don't have a website, you can only include maybe their Facebook page or their LinkedIn page, so that they can, okay, fine, I want to check who these people are. They can get a link to see it. And for stamp, they can always get a stamp and get it all sorted. But then those firms can create a LinkedIn page, a Facebook page, something to show that, okay, these things are actually active.
Okay, thank you very much. So one other important question again. So like you are done with your master's, right? So are you doing your PhD? No, there's some scholarship that once you are done with the master's, so they'll literally ship you back to your country.
No.
I guess you just want to know.
No, it's not like that with the excellence scholarship. They don't even interfere with what you do. When you finish, you're done. At least what you just need to, there are some requirements you have to do while you have the scholarship. Like you have to pass your courses, you have to register for your courses, and you have to get your credits. And after the degree, they're not keen about you going back to your country, because there are a lot of things you could do. They want you to even stay back in the literary sense of it. If you have things you could do and think about next step you want to go about with whatever you are doing. So they're not so keen about you returning to your country after the program.
Okay. We also noticed that once you are done with the scholarship, like you get an automatic membership to the future professional global. So what is the benefit of that forum? Has it done anything to impact on your career?
Yeah, the forum is all good because you network with previous alumni, you get updates on what the excellence scholarship are doing, and they possibly give you some job opportunities as well. They post some few things in their general group, and they send emails as well to the alumni for leadership trainings, programs. You could still be part of the scholarship scheme. So even when you're done with the scholarship, you're part of the network. So when they have programs, they send emails to you. You can join their leadership session. You can come and inspire others. So it's a big community, and they're trying to just keep sure they keep track of what you're doing and your progress and what you're doing with your experience while schooling in Sweden.
Okay. That being said,
hello.
So how was the application like for you? Because we are aware that like there are lots of people here on this call with us that are like they are literally in the process of application. So they are done with their applying to the universities for admission, but they are waiting for the the February opening of the SI scholarship. So what was the application process like for you, and why do you think you were chosen? So what are those tips you want to give to them to make sure that when they
I mentioned
apply,
earlier, you must use keywords in your CV. You must motivate what you want to do with the scholarship. Then you must be able to fill a gap. You must be solving a problem, because it's a quite competitive scholarship. You get about 10,000 persons applying for the scholarship, and they're just picking about 300 persons. So what is important, which I used to tell everybody, is make sure your CV is very sound, and make sure you include keywords in your CV. I'm still not so keen about most of the referrals. Is something they go to after you've been selected, maybe from your CV, from a motivation letter. They will now check your references. So pay attention to your CV and your motivation letter, because they know the references is not written by you. It's written by those that you worked with. So they only want to see the good things those ones will say about you. That's the truth. Because you're not the ones to fill those references. It's where you worked with that will fill those references. For me, I started early enough. People should start early enough. Talk to your references, let them fill those things for you, get it stamped, get it all sorted. So don't wait till when the scholarship starts before you start filling these forms. Then one aspect you have to keep going about to refresh and make it better is your motivational statement. There are 2 questions that were asked when I applied, but I'm not so sure the number of questions they had in previous one and the year before the previous one. But these questions still look alike, like what Joshua said. They want to know, what do you want to do with this scholarship? They want to know, how do you want to use this course you want to study to improve your society? So those are the key things they want to see. So you must be able to take your time to keep refining these. Like for me, I refined mine for over 2 weeks. I was writing, I go back, I sleep over it, I come back, what I have to do, till I got the inspiration to talk about legislation. When we talk about legislation, talk about Nigerian Parliament, we said report to them. And this is something we've been doing. This is something we still keep doing.
Okay, I'm 100% sure Ogechi is going to give us like a wonderful session with the motivational statement. But one last question from my end. So after the program, how has life been? Do you hope to jump back to Nigeria, or you have other important things that you're doing?
I've always been involved in the media, and I've been doing a lot of media research, and I've been writing some papers as well. And I still have my magazine publication ongoing in Nigeria, and we're still in the business of production, and we still do that. So it's still connecting with home. I've never been too far away. I used to tell my friend I never left, and that's the key thing. So it's just about continuing to impact the society. That's what the SI scholarship is all about. Using what you've learned to improve people, using what you learned to impact on the society, and possibly make sure you make the society better, and possibly be part of those working towards the actualization of the SDG goals for 2030. I think I can see a question talking about goal 16 from Emmanuel, right? I think goal 16.
I think you've made mention on that, if I'm correct. So it was asked, the person was asking, how does it relate to someone being in the law sector? So the person just highlighted goal 16, which you mentioned in your CV, which they include.
Okay, yeah. Goal 16 is something I've been really working with. So if the person can talk to me, like we could find a way around it. But the key thing is peace, justice, and equity.
Okay, Jules, you have a question. I don't know. Can you speak now? Jules, you are raising up your hand. Jules, are you with us?
I think the person has left.
I guess the person has left. Probably when he comes back, take his question. Thank you very much, Bolaji.
All right.
It was a wonderful session with you. So.
Good.
All right. So we'll be moving on to the next one, which has to do with the letter of references. So we started with, first and foremost, highlighting the CV. We've talked around how your CV should be able to attract your reviewers. And now we're going to talk about the letter of reference. So Emmanuel will be joining us, and then afterwards, Ugechi is going to share her unique nuggets around the motivation letter. So Emmanuel, I think we'll just perhaps start. So is there a template for the letter of reference? Let me first of all ask, how are you doing today? Lovely headphones, by the way.
Thank you, Uzim, Chisom, Joshua, and Bolaji, for sharing your experience. I'll say I've learned a lot too. So I'll be talking about the reference later, and I'm doing quite well. Thank you for asking. The scholarship, I'll try to be very quick, and because I see we used a lot of time. The scholarship, as we quite know, it's very competitive, and every document that is requested, it's you need to submit a competitive document. So every document you're turning in is very, very important. And I won't spend time going over things that has been said already. I'll just streamline my discussion to the reference letter. Reference letter is a very important document applying for scholarships, be it any form of scholarship at all. So one of the main keys to winning this scholarship is, I remember when I was applying, I watched a YouTube video. I can't remember whose video it was. And this scholar mentioned that one of the keys to winning this scholarship is going through the instructions on the scholarship page. And I adhered to that, and it helped me a lot. So I'll still be mentioning that this evening. Go through all the instructions on the documents that has been given on the scholarship page. It will help you a lot. So I just picked some major points in the reference letter that you should take note of. First, we know what a reference letter is: a positive endorsement of a person's skills and attributes. So it is very important that the person you're giving to write a reference letter for you can turn in a very competitive document. It is very, very important. You don't just give to anyone to fill in for filling's sake. Take note, it's a very, very competitive scholarship. So the person should be able to highlight your skills and your attributes. I'll quickly run through the questions and just generally speak how this can be done. And just some quick facts that I would point out from the reference letter. It should, from the document, you would see they state the opinion from professional perspective. And the reference letter should supplement every other document, like your CV and your proof of work and leadership. It should be able to supplement all of those. And you'll be submitting 2 reference letters. If you read in between the lines, it says you must submit a work reference letter. And the second one could be another work reference letter. But take note, it says it will be a merit in bold if you submit a reference letter from a civil society organization. That's very important. Not necessary that it must be, the second must be from that, but it will be a merit as they stated. And who can fill out the reference letter? Someone who knows you in a professional manner, of course. Go through those documents, you would see those instructions, and who cannot fill your co-workers, maybe someone at the same level as you where you work can't fill the reference letter, and your family members cannot fill it. And they said individuals who demand compensation can't fill the reference letter. So I'll just run through the questions very, very quickly. So I'll permit me to share my screen. I'm very mindful of the time. A lot has been said already. Yeah. So, okay. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. Sorry.
Can you zoom out a little so it can be bold?
Okay. How about now? Is it okay?
Yeah, it's great now.
Okay, I won't spend so much time on this page. It has to do with your details, your personal details. So you just fill it accordingly. And if you have any questions, you can ask along. So I'll just specify more of the questions. The first question says, now, firstly, you are not expected to write your reference letter. Of course, we all know that. So your referee should do that. And one of the things I suggest to applicant is you can assist your referee. And the way you can do this is to give him a summary of your achievements and some of the things you think are very important to be captured in the reference letter. You can do a summary sheet of all of that so that when he's writing the reference letter for you, he knows what to include in that. It doesn't work all the time, though. Personally, we not just give the reference letter to my referee to fill without doing this, because I know it's very important. The first question says, in your opinion, how would an SI scholarship for master's studies in Sweden be valuable for the professional and academic development of the applicant? Okay, in answering this question, right, the referee needs to know some key facts about Sweden. What is it about Sweden that can help build your skill, that can add valuable skills to you, just like the question says, and can help your professional and your academic development. If you can help your referee, there's this site that about Sweden, you can look at sweden.se. You find various information about Sweden. What I'm studying is, during my whole application, it was majorly focused on environmental sustainability. So the SDG goals that were my focus were on climate action and clean energy. So you would look through the sweden.se website and you see some of the key facts about Sweden and pick those things that can relate to your profession and how this thing can help develop you professionally and academically in your course you're studying. So you can pick out these key factors and give it to in a summary form, show it to your referee. It will help him to answer that question. And the second one says, briefly comment on the applicant's potential to contribute to or to drive social change in his or her context. Okay, social change could mean maybe you now being able to be innovative enough in your field of expertise that would affect or impact your colleagues positively. Yeah, that's your ability of being able to drive social change. And I would say when answering this question, your referee should be mindful of not just stating that he has a very strong leadership skill and be able to drive social change in this particular aspect. That's not sufficient. So what they want to see here, they want to see real life examples of how you've been able to do this. So once you state this, has social leadership skill and can be able to, you should be able to show examples, real-time examples of how you have done this. So I'll quickly run to the third question, which is quite not too different from the second question. It says, please evaluate the applicant's leadership capacity and potential to play a role in development of the society, e.g. in networking, motivation, perseverance, problem solving, and communication. You would notice that all of these still revolve around leadership and networking. So if the referee can comment on your leadership and your networking skills, it will suffice. And in doing this, he should give specific examples. It is very important. One of the approach that I always use when writing essays, I use the STAR approach, right? Maybe when you do a draft and you're putting some key things, summary of yourself that your referee could look at. Now, the STAR approach is very important. It stands for, the S stands for situation, T stands for task, A, action that was taken, and 2, the R, the result. So every action you've taken, everything you've done should be measurable. And in giving these results, you state statistics. You increase this by 30%, by 25%. So it should be measurable. So when your referee gives this example, he should give the structure. I would like to give a disclaimer here that the points I'm sharing with you are my personal views, and every scholar have their own views about how this whole process should go, valid views, as I would call it. So whatever I'm sharing here is my own personal view, and it has worked for many people. So it is not a universal standard. You should know that. So that's it for the reference letter. Give examples, very, very important. And in giving examples, it should be structured. That's what they want to see. Not he has a very strong leadership skill and very great in networking. It is just you stating. You have to show it, and you show it by giving what examples. The final question here is: I would suggest that your referee might be tempted to leave it empty. Additional remark. Now, leaving it empty I don't think it could be a problem, but personally, I feel that your referee should say something there in that field, in that empty field. You can see it says it's optional, right? So I believe it will show that your referee is passionate and enthused about putting you forward for the scholarship. So here he can state some additional achievements that maybe you have won, maybe you won your employee of the year at some particular point, won some awards, you were involved in some maybe activities. He can just state it there, and in stating it, it should be structured enough that it should captivate the readers. So you should know that I want to believe that this document are scored, and they have a group of reviewers that go through this and they will score it accordingly. So these are just the few points I've noted. I don't know if I'm leaving out anything, but if you have any question, of course you can ask me. I'm still here. So thank you. Eugene, over to you.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel. It's a pleasure at least getting such direct and useful information. So I don't know if anyone here has any question. Please feel free to use the raise hand button. It will be really appreciated. On the other hand, Chisom, do you have any questions that you want Emmanuel to?
Yeah, I always do. Thank you for asking anyway. So Emmanuel, thank you again. This is like a double thank you. Thank you for accepting to come to this webinar, and thank you for inviting Ogechi. That was very thoughtful. So my questions are, to begin with, this letter, reference letter, is it the same thing that you use while applying to the university? Because in most university admission, they ask for academic reference and not workplace reference. Though some may say, okay, both. Some universities are just like, oh, just give us 2 academic reference. So I want to know, is it like a repetition?
Okay. Now, different courses have different requirements. For my program, there was no requirement to submit a CV. Sorry, I said CV, reference
letter.
Okay. Was I asked to submit a reference letter? No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I wasn't asked. And you should note that it depends on the course, right? It follows different formats. So the course should be, the program should state the form of reference they need. I know in some application they send hope I'm not mixing this up. I've done so many applications that I'm okay. It's done. It's done through university admissions. Though I for my program, applying through university admissions, I wasn't asked to submit reference letter. But if you are asked to submit a reference letter, I believe the program will state how they want it submitted, maybe through an email or through the portal. And yeah, I believe it will be stated. So for me, I didn't have any issues bothering my head over reference letter for my university application. So I don't know if any of the scholars...
So the requirements of the reference letter having an institutional email. No, there's always stuff about if you are sending a reference letter, make sure the email that is like person is using should be an institutional email. So let's say, for instance, again, my previous example, you worked for this organization, like just this normal NGO in Makoko, Lagos. They don't have an institutional email. What's going to be your fate?
Okay, you mean, okay, generally speaking, right? Okay, I'm looking at something. It says email address of referee, preferably a work email, which is still an institution email. Yeah. I believe using an institutional email, especially for the work, it gives more credibility to what you're submitting. Yes. But then if there's no institutional email, I don't think it will be rejected because they say preferably. So it is not stated that it must be an institutional email, just that the institutional email gives credibility to your application. So that's just the difference for me. But I know a number of scholars that have won the scholarship using the normal generic email for their reference letter. But preferably, if the work email can be used, please put it there.
Okay. So the way we chose our panelists, we were focused on, like, we chose 2 previous members of the SI scholarship, and then you and Ogechi, which are like the fresh, like the recent members. So now on the website, they said that they have a goal of trying to, like, should I say, admit 350 scholars by 2023. So my question is, what are the chances of Nigerians like us now that are still in Nigeria, what are the chances of us getting in and making, let's say, making more than a third of that slot?
Okay, I think this question depends totally on the SI committee. Okay, during our time, 17 of us were selected. So what you just need to bother yourself about is submitting a competitive application. You know, it's a competitive scholarship. You just bother yourself about submitting competitive application, all documents. Don't joke with any of the documents, the motivation letter, your CV, your reference, all should be competitive enough. You should know that about 4 to 6%, I don't know, of the total applicants will be selected. And if you check the number, it's very almost insignificant. So just bother yourself about submitting a competitive document, and then let SI have the headache of choosing who they will give the scholarship.
So they actually included the amounts of money that you get monthly and all that. So this is not like an application question. It's just like more of like an AMIBOK question. So does the stipend covers for like your expenses for the month, or do you still have some that you just, some extra allowance and stuff like that? Can you hear me?
Okay, yeah, it's a fully funded scholarship. Yes, I can hear you. It's a fully funded scholarship. Fully funded scholarship means it covers everything: your tuition, your flights, your living expenses. So you get, like, you can read from the website, you get about 11,000 crowns monthly for your living expenses. Well, it depends on your lifestyle too. So
so I think we have Joshua raising up his hand. Joshua, what is your question? Emmanuel is willing to answer. So you can speak now, Joshua.
All right, thank
I can't hear him.
Same here as well.
Can you hear him?
I can't hear Joshua. I think we've kind of lost him. The network is glitching.
So, Emmanuel, let me continue with my questions. I came prepared for you today. I said today is for you and I. So, the next question is about what the scholarship don't cover. It was strictly stated. Can you hear me, please?
Thank you very much, Andy.
Emmanuel, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay,
yeah,
sorry
I
for
can hear you.
Okay, on the website, they specifically mentioned 4 things that are not covered by the scholarship. So what I want to know, why this happens? Okay. By saying provision of additional grants for family members. So in other words, if you are married now, like a newly married person that got the scholarship, cannot come with your wife. Why? Like, why? Why did they have to do that? Secondly, that they don't cover for the application fee. You know, most people applying for admission, there is always this complaint about application fee. Probably to the institute, it's not a big money, but when you begin to convert it to Nigerian naira, we all know how it's going to look like. And then thirdly, they don't allow change of study program and then extension of program. Why all these hard rules? Are they really necessary?
Okay. Firstly, your first question about the family members, I think it depends on their budget. I know there are other scholarships that you can bring your, like that scholarship, you can bring your family members, and the scholarship body will cover for that recipient alone. If you're bringing along you can bring your wife if you want to, or your kids, but just know that the scholarship will only cover you that received it. So any other additional expenses will be on you. So that's their standard, and I don't know why. And the second one is sorry, what's the second question again?
The second question is about the application fee.
Okay, yeah, the application fee. Well, the white question, I don't know, but if you win the scholarship, I think what you would be getting would be more than enough to cover your application. So why bother about 900 SEK when you get a lot more in return when you win the scholarship? So
all right. Thank you, Emmanuel. I think Joshua's hand is up. Joshua, please, we're going to give this a second try. Go ahead. Hello, Joshua, can you hear me? All right, Joshua, I will appreciate if you can type your question because we need to move on to the next. I think we have a question in the group chat. This is coming from Winnie. She says, please, can you give us tips on how to fill the proof of work and leadership experience form? So, Emmanuel, just quickly, and then we'll move on to the last session for today.
Okay. Well, I didn't. To answer that question, I would have to look at the form. So let's see. I mean, it's very easy. This is the easiest document.
Okay.
So if you can make it more specific, because I'm trying to get the document.
I don't know. I thought Joshua and Bolaji already answered that question.
Yeah, so she can just make it more specific if there's a specific question, because that would take a long time going through the whole process.
So if you don't have any specific question, please, when I upload the video on our FON YouTube channel, please follow us on YouTube. I'm going to upload the video. You'll probably get an answer to your question. Flourish Opportunities Network. Don't forget to like and subscribe on YouTube. We got you. on your scholarship application. Thank you. So, Manu, you can go on. Any other question from anyone?
So
somebody asked a question. Manu, check the chat box. This person said something about reference letter.
Since the first reference letter is specified to be professional, can the second reference letter be academic? Okay, what do you think? I don't want to give a misleading information.
Yeah, I think it can because, hi everyone, I'm sorry to interrupt. It's, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you.
Certainly, you can use your professor at your university, you can use maybe your lecturer, but it should be signed properly. I mean, follow the signing and the stamping rules. But the first one can come from your office, I mean, your job, work experience. The other one can come from your university or anybody, or maybe your NGO as well. I mean, the CSO, the civil society organization. Yeah, you can also use that in your reference as well.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And do we have any other questions? So can your referee be from a different location?
Yeah, of course, it doesn't matter as long as both of you have a professional connection and is referring you based on the organization you work for. Yeah, so the location doesn't matter. So as long as he works in the organization and you worked in the organization too, and there should be a connection.
All
Not
right.
someone working in Total Energies and you are working in another different company. It doesn't work that way. So it has to be the same organization and both of you have worked. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Emmanuel. That was a very interesting time with you. So we've gone through 3 different stages and now we'll be going to the last one, which has to do with the motivation. So Ogechi had already showed herself. So please,
Hi.
Hi, Ogechi. How are you doing tonight?
I'm good. I'm great. And you?
All right. Thank you very much. So you're going to steal the spot for the last session, and we'll be talking around the motivation letter. So perhaps maybe you can share some insights first, and then we can delve into questions. We have 10 to 15 minutes.
Okay. First, I would say my part of this session is not. I may not share my screen like every other person has done. Okay,
right.
Because the motivation letter comes from the website. It doesn't have a template like the ones they shared. Yeah, and it's usually released when the application is open. That is only when you will see the question they want you to answer for that year. And people from 2019 and 2020 kind of mentioned that they had a different question, but I think we had the same question with the previous year, 21, 22. I think we had the same question. And it was basically, I mean, when you apply, when you meet the criteria for applying, that is getting the admission, being admitted into a university in Sweden, then you can access the website when it's open. And basically what they asked us last year was for us to describe how, okay, let me just read it in their words. Describe how you can apply the knowledge and experience you will gain from your time in Sweden in your organization / company and or / again in your home country / region. I mean, it's kind of seem a bit tricky if you look at it, because you feel like, oh, you need to maybe write something that will cover both your organization, maybe your company, your country, and then your village, maybe. But I don't really think that is what they require from you. Okay. I think one important thing I would like to mention is in the motivation letter, you are not just going to learn academic stuff alone in Sweden. There are other stuff you can learn. Maybe Sweden thrives in gender equality. You can as well learn that. Their social welfare system, the no preferential treatment, so many things they do. I mean, and Sweden also is leading in the 2030 UN Sustainable Goal. You can also learn that from them. So it's basically not just academically, like, oh, it's just I'm going to learn in school stuff alone. You should be open to learning other stuff. So you can as well use them in your motivation letter. And your motivation letter should not be just maybe one particular thing that you're going to focus on. You can talk about the academic part, and you can talk about maybe the general societal part. The tricky part in the motivation, so a thing to take note of is the fact that you have just 1,000 characters, not words, characters. And that 1,000 characters should contain all of this. So it's like a summary of what you have in your CV, a summary of what you have in your reference, maybe your reference letter. It's just something related to it, not just outside of it. You can't say you are an engineer here and then you come here and write something also related to it. So it's like a summary of you in action. Just put yourself in action. What those things you said you can do, just summarize them and talk about how you can practicalize them. So in answering that question, the first thing you should ask yourself, which you should do, is have an in-depth understanding of your chosen course, the course you chose, the one you applied for, the one you gained admission on, because before you get to this stage, you must have been admitted. So that particular course that you've been admitted into, what problem does it solve? What does it do? And then it should be related to SDG as well, because all of this revolves around SDG. If you're outside of it, I'm not sure you're going to win the scholarship, because even on the website, it is specifically stated that it is about the SDGs. For example, myself, I'm a chemist, like Emmanuel, we're both chemists. So I kind of wrote my motivational letter as a chemist, like, okay, what problem can I actually solve as a chemist in Nigeria? Okay, before I go into details in that question I read out, you can choose a particular one from it. You can choose that to make a change in your company or organization. If you have a private business, you can choose to make a change in your community. You can choose to make a change in another place, but choose an area. Don't say you want to change the whole Nigeria, because you're an individual. They know you're just a person. You can't say you can change the whole Nigeria. I kind of feel it's too broad. It's unrealistic. In all of this, everything you're writing about should be realistic. Your action points should be realistic. You can start small. You can say you can do it and then involve other people later, or involve an organization that would boost this thing later. But it should be specific to an area. These people have if you go through the website, it's really about community helping communities or individual helping communities. You can leverage on that, because it's mainly, they really care about, we are from the third world countries, or maybe country to say. I don't know if you have other people here. So it has to be something that helps another community, something that helps other people that are suffering. So you cannot say you're helping the whole Nigeria, or you are helping the whole whatever, wherever you think in your head you want to write about. Please just specify on a particular area. If it's Ojuelegba Bridge that you feel you can make a difference in, choose Ojuelegba Bridge. If you say it's your church, choose your church. But then what can you do with your studies in that your church? That is how this thing works. So I think that's why they had to put the in between slash in the question to tell you that you don't have to write about all of this, but you can choose one in particular. I personally, I chose about the other SDG about teaching, you know, quality education and good health. So I kind of said I want to major into pharmaceutical chemistry. So I said we have herbs actually that can be maybe engineered with other drugs to produce more drugs. This is the research area I want to major in. And if I'm able to learn this thing in Sweden, I can teach other people in Nigeria. I did not say I kind of felt like I can start with my community, because that was where my motivation letter was centered on a community. And then later on, if it works, I can now involve other people. That was what I wrote. I couldn't find my motivation letter. I don't know why the whole thing is just not here. So like I said, the first thing is your in-depth understanding about your chosen course. Then your understanding of the UN SDGs is also very important. I think I've briefly mentioned that. Then another thing also you should know is how can you now write it in your course. For example, you can say, oh, I applied to maybe, let's say, for chemistry because I want to learn how I can, let me go outside what I did, the sustainability that Ifan is doing. Ifan, what's your course again? Renewable energy.
Yeah,
renewable energy.
Renewable energy, chemistry for renewable energy.
Yes.
So, yeah.
And that is a very big problem. Energy is a big problem in Nigeria. Yes. Everyone from Nigeria knows that electricity, energy in general is a problem. How can you tailor it to it? Okay, if you're an accountant, how can you use it to make an impact as a Nigerian? Or probably if you're in the agricultural sector, how can you use it to make an impact? So I kind of feel the motivation letter is easier when you look at what you have written in your CV and then your reference letters. Since all of these are connected, then you kind of put it into action and say, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do. Like I said before, it can be more than one. Your actions can be more than one, not just one particular action. Maybe out of the different SDGs, you can choose 3 there and summarize them as what you want to do, but it should be related to your course. I don't know if there's something else I am to say, because basically the motivation letter it might change this year, I don't know. But if it doesn't change, I don't know, it's kind of a bit tricky, but I don't think it's too hard because you've written something the other ones are the most important, and then the motivation letter summarizes what you say. I'm not sure if there is anything like a keyword, like they said in the other ones, you should use a keyword. I'm not really sure. I think this is more about action. I mean, practicalizing what you think you want to do. Practicalizing what you think you want to do. Okay, again, does anyone want to say anything?
No, you can go on. I thought you were done. I wanted to ask you.
You have to prove your qualifications also. That is exactly more like what we've been talking about. You can actually say, how do I kind of relate this to now? Your skills, your achievements, and your experience should also come in your motivation letter. Because I had done something like this before, I think that if I learn more on this, I can, maybe you now add extra of what that thing should do for you, would do for you. But in a nutshell, you can talk about other things you can learn in Sweden and how you can use them in Nigeria, and then bring also the academic part of it, but just kind of summarize it. That's what the motivation letter is about. Then you have to keep it concise because you don't have so much space for this. You proofread and if possible, give it to another person to go through it. Then you can get feedback from people if you have so much time. And another tip to this motivation letter is starting early, because there is nothing you would write that you think is enough. At some point, I wrote and then deleted, wrote, deleted. But the good thing about this essay is once the website is open and you create an account, you can always edit anything you've done before, or anything, you can always edit it. Or until maybe when I think a few minutes to the end, and then the submission closes, you cannot edit anything anymore. But for the window period, the application is open, you can edit anything you've written. So just check around you, the problems your course can solve, and then look at your CV and what you've written. Don't go outside of it, and then kind of practicalize it. Then write whatever you think is okay. Start early, start practicing. The templates are there online. You can just check stuff and see what you can write. And if you feel you've not done enough, you can always edit it later and look through again. So
thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you.
All right. So Chisom, go ahead with your questions, and then we can just take some quick ones for your general notes. Thank you.
Okay, I wanted to refer to the chat box where there are like lots of questions there.
Okay.
I don't know if you can read it out for her.
Okay, let me see. Is this really for me?
So I think the questions are on a general note. Let me start with the first one from Chimiziliam. He said, are the reference letters supposed to be handwritten or typed? And then can this be electronically signed as well?
No, not electric. No, you can't sign it electronically. You type it first. Mm-hmm. Then after typing, you print it out. Mm. The signing and the stamping is done like the hard copy, not the soft copy. Yeah. And then you scan it again and then upload. Yeah, that's how it works.
That answers the question. Which is about using a digital stamp. So you've heard you need a physical stamp that you need to now rescan back.
I think, I don't know. Okay.
Yes.
You know, the SI, they have, yeah, I remember when we were applying, there were lots of debates about this. So I don't know. The key thing is, I think if it's the official stamp of the company.
Yeah,
some company, right, have digital stamp.
Okay.
And what do you think? Okay, that should work. Because here in Sweden, almost everything is digitalized.
Let me state something clearly. One thing about these Swedes is that they reply email even in 1 minute or 2 minutes. And the fact that you're an applicant gives you that, maybe it gives you the right or the privilege to ask them any question. You can as well email them if you're applying and you're in that situation. Yeah. Ask them questions. Even university admissions, you can email them and they don't take offense in stuff like that. I remember I sent in a couple of emails when I had different things on my mind then. So they always answer. And I think the answer you get directly from them is better than the one you can hear from anyone. Yeah.
Sure. All right, thank you. The first time you guys have all heard it, so please utilize the communication tool between you and the application. So the next question is any course from a different university also covered by the scholarship, like a different university in Sweden covered by the scholarship?
What does person mean different university? I mean, oh, in the something they have the courses they cover and the universities that covers them, and I think they release that list every year.
All right.
So yeah, so it's for you to. They have so many universities they cover and the courses they cover. It's not like, I mean, the courses are plenty actually, but there are still some they don't cover. The scholarship doesn't cover. So before you apply, you have to go through that stuff and know.
Thank you. So please make sure you go through the website, just like Emmanuel reiterated, make sure you study the instructions, they're useful. Next question is, while filling my data on the university admissions, I filled my first name and last name, leaving my middle name. Will this cause a problem, especially in the part of the reference letter that states my name should be written as it is in my passport?
Which of the, is it the university admissions?
Yes, university admissions.
I don't know, really. Like I said, you can always ask them, because if I say yes or say no, it can mean a different thing. So, as long as you're registered there, I mean, you have an account, you don't even have to send the email outside. From the website there, you can send the email, and they always reply. Right. Always, yeah.
Shimism, that has been answered. Someone is saying, for a law firm, is NBA stamp okay?
Honestly, fine. Can you answer that?
Well, what I can say about this is just make sure the stamp you're using is the official stamp of the organization you're using for your documents, right? So you can't be working in one organization and use the stamp for another organization. Just be sure that any stamp you're using, it's affiliated to what you have on your documents.
But I kind of think the MBA stamp is like a general something, right?
It's
not the specific organization you're working for, is it?
If the firm uses that stamp, okay.
Wait, please answer. The MBA stamp
means Nigerian Bar Association.
I know.
For any lawyer that is
okay.
It's a general stamp, yes, like you said. It's not the specific stamp of the law firm that the lawyer is working.
I think
so. I think you were right
from the law firm.
All right. I think if you have any question with regards to law, we'll probably channel it to Bolaji.
Yeah.
But yes, thank you so much. So we have less than 7 minutes to go, and I'll just try to talk more about your experience so far in the scholarship or in Sweden as well. So I don't know how it has been for you. There's this culture shock that
the culture shock are nice. Yeah, they are good people. They may not sit close to you. They may not talk to you often, but whenever you guys speak or when you get to closer, you will know that they are nice people. There isn't so much racism here.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I'm not that there isn't. I mean, the racists are not even the Swedes, maybe the Arabs or the Somalians or other people, not really them.
And so, what are like your high points for you since you moved to Sweden, especially on the scholarship?
Especially on what?
On the scholarship. Like, I want to get let me hear Manuel, because Manuel has been giving me this 10 looks. I need to be sure if he's enjoying himself. So what's like your high points in the scholarship?
By high point, what do you mean? Rephrase.
Your most remarkable experience since being on the scholarship, things you'd be happy to share with us.
The meeting, the money.
Okay. Well, I can't really point out a particularly unique experience. I would say everything I've experienced so far has been unique in its own way. But I mean, the educational standard in Sweden is awesome. Like, it's amazing. Yeah, you would want to come to Sweden to study, especially for the STEM field.
Okay.
And yeah, the Swedes, like Oge stated, they're wonderful people. And yeah, you can just relate so easily with them. And there are lots of opportunities here for you to grow professionally, academically. So,
talking about growth, your master's program, is this meant to be a year or two? How many years is it meant to be? And then is there like a transition pathway for a PhD? I'm not suggesting you want to do a PhD, but
yeah, I think mine is 2 years, his is 2 years. I think there are some theirs is 1 year. It depends on the program and you applied for. So when you apply, you'll see if it's 120 or 60 ECT. So, but ours is 2 years. And PhD, yeah, PhD like a full-time, it's like a full-time work here. Yeah, they pay you much more than what SI pays, about, I mean, like times 3 of it, actually. Yeah.
Not a multi-millionaire.
Yeah. But actually, it's like a full-time work. But I know there are openings every now and then, so people try to use that as a way of maybe staying.
You can apply even after your first year.
Yeah, you can even apply when your first year results are out. Yeah, true. Without finishing with your studies, you can apply. That's how it is here.
All right, great. And then for the pathway, it has to go with professional experience. So is it also possible to like get jobs easily from your experience with people who are there? What's the like the it's like? Are there opportunities for applicants to appear from the international space?
Well,
okay. Go first. That one is quite tricky.
Generally, there are opportunities in Sweden, and to narrow it down, it depends on your profession too.
Okay. And your grace.
Your background, and I think. Well, the question is not a direct answer question. So I won't give an answer. I believe this is going online that might be contrary to other people's experience, but what I would say is there are opportunities here.
Totally agree with you. All right, thank you so much. It's really amazing to have you join us this evening, dedicating so much time out of your busy schedule just to be with us. It's a unique opportunity and we don't take it for granted. For everyone who have been part and parcel of this session and have joined right from the beginning down to this very morning, and we want to also say thank you to you as well. I think there are still more questions popping in. We'll be happy to answer your questions even after now. There's a WhatsApp group where you can please drop your questions. I think Chisom can be able to share that. Also follow the YouTube page for FON and you'll be able to like get more amazing content around getting scholarships as well. And someone talked around where can you get information about Sweden. It was mentioned.
Sweden.se.
Yeah, Sweden.se. Please go. Get your vital information there. And one last thing, just to say thank you to FON for having this opportunity. It's been a while I've jumped on a call like this, but getting to speak with amazing people like Emmanuel and Ugechi, Joshua and Bolaji has just reignited that notion that yes, there's so much prospect for each and every one of us that are here on this call. Please don't be scared about anything. There's so much potential you can achieve. Utilize it, make the best out of it, and we're always here to help out. Please feel free to also reach out to them via LinkedIn. I hope it's okay, Emmanuel and Ogechi, for people to get in touch.
Of course.
So
my LinkedIn user is just my first and my last name.
Okay.
So you find me there. You can connect with me and ask me any question.
If I can say something, yeah, you can ask, but if I don't reply immediately, don't see it like I'm ignoring you, because studies here sometimes is crazy. I stay in the lab sometimes till maybe like 8 or 9 in the night, and when I come back I get exhausted. Please, you guys should understand. But the thing is, I must definitely reply, please, in case anyone reaches out.
Everybody here on this call is emotionally intelligent. We love you. Okay then, so thank you so much everyone, and on this note, this is already 9 o'clock in Nigeria. Just want to say thank you to everyone and do have a wonderful evening. Cheers and wish you successful applications.
All right.
Thank
you. Thanks. Yeah. Bye.
Yeah.